I want to talk with you today about emotional intelligence, EQ, and it's been a topic that we in the counseling and psychology field have been aware of for well over 3 decades now. Every now and then you run across somebody that says, well, is there such a thing as emotional intelligence? And it's kind of like asking, is there such a thing as wisdom or discernment or empathy or social skills? Well, of course there is. And it's something that we can break down and know and understand and build upon so that we can be more effective in the way that we engage with people. Now, today I want to talk with you about 4 primary elements that go into the making of emotional intelligence, and then I want to talk with you about how you can build upon your skills so that this becomes a stronger and stronger part of the way that you do life. Now, first, and this just kind of goes along with what the title of it all is, as you develop emotional intelligence, you show yourself to be aware of the emotions within yourself and within other individuals. You know, whether we're talking about what's happening in our family schedules or how we're managing a project at work or how we're going to engage with certain individuals in the extended family and so on, there's a functional level, but then there's always an emotional level. You know, it may be that as you're engaging with somebody, you can tell that that person is feeling excited, or they're feeling dull, or they're feeling anxious or tense or angry. Are you the kind of person that picks up on that thinking, I know what's going on inside them, and I want to make sure that I am tuned into that so that that becomes a factor in the way that we engage with each other. I want to talk about more than just what we're going to do. I'm going to talk about who you are. Well, that also implies that as you look at other individuals' emotions, you're very aware of your own emotional set that you draw upon. You know, how angry or impatient or annoyed or critical or defensive or fearful or insecure you may be. And as you sense those kinds of things building on the inside, you have an awareness of that so that you're not going to let them run away with you. You know, by the way, you're also aware of the good emotions too, your happiness, your joys, and your love and your tenderness, and you're very tuned in to that part of life. Which leads to a second primary ingredient in emotional intelligence, and that is you have a well-conceived plan about how to manage those emotions. Now, let's start with you managing your own emotions. If you do perceive yourself as feeling a bit insecure relative to a scenario, or angry, or impatient, or fearful, or insecure, or happy, or tender, do you have an idea, okay, when that emotion shows up, this is what it says, this is how I want to manage it, here's how I want to be known, especially when this emotion shows up on the scene. And then in addition to that, as other people have similar kinds of emotions, you can also have a game plan as to how you're going to respond to that. If someone's angry with me, if someone registers anxiety or fear or inadequacy or tenderness, I've got an idea of how I want to manage that. I've thought through all of those many kinds of things, and I know who I am, and I'm comfortable in working through those kind of components. Now, a third, strong element in emotional intelligence is obviously if you're going to be tuned into the emotional side of life, you're someone that proactively seeks to build relationships. Now, let's keep in mind there's certain individuals, and we'll refer to those as those who might be on the narcissism spectrum, who develop relationships with people, but not exactly. They're developing assets. They like to collect data, or they like to collect ideas or get some functional elements, and then when that part's done, then they discard them. People with high emotional intelligence aren't just hanging around with other individuals to collect data just for some useful function. They honestly want to know who you are. They want to know what your backstory is. They want to know what makes you tick. They like knowing the fuller backdrop that causes you to make the decisions that you do. And people with high EQ are also aware of their own backstory and how they got to be where they are, and they like sharing that. And so there's more than just a functional exchange that we have, but there's actually an exchange that says, you're one human being, I'm one human being, we do life together, but let's do it with an awareness of the fullness of what we are. That's good EQ. And then a fourth element that we'll say that makes up emotional intelligence is we're going to call it empathy in action. A person who has strong empathy, and I've had other videos that have dealt with the making of empathy, likes to tune into someone else's perceptions and their feelings. When someone says, here's what's going on, rather than just talking about that functional side, the empathizer can say, you know, I sense that what you really mean is this, and this seems to be important, or that bothers you. And so they're willing to go inside rather than just arguing, this is correct, this is incorrect, here's what you need to do, here's what you shouldn't do. These individuals will slow down and say, what do you feel or what do you perceive? And they try to know and engage with people, making it very clear, I want to engage with you, and you have the privilege of knowing that I really see what's behind the scenes there with you. Is that something that you would aspire to do? I strongly suspect that when you're around people who are able to do that, then it makes you feel a whole lot more comfortable. So obviously that's something you'd want to do. So the takeaway from all of this is, let's understand that people are much more than just machines. We're not robots. We're not the sum total of our achievements or performances. Now, you know that there are some people that seems to be all they care about. Your functionality. Did you do this correctly, and did you not do that correctly? And I know this sounds almost cheesy to say it this way, but we're not just human. We're not human doings, we're human beings. And let's focus on the being side of life. Also, let's another takeaway as we understand what EQ is, let's learn to communicate with each other with the covert messages very much at the top of our minds. You know, somebody may say something like, I'm going to go to this social function, okay? And you can have an exchange of information. But then let's suppose that you're a person with strong EQ and you realize, well, there's a covert message going on here. And as that person says, I'm going to go to this exchange or this particular situation, you may sense, you don't seem to be too enthusiastic about that. Tell me why. Or you may sense the opposite. Hey, this is something you've been looking forward to. I'd like to know about that. And so you rather than just talking about the external function, you go on the inside and you learn how to read the behind the scenes elements that are going on, the covert messages. Or give you another illustration. Let's suppose you're talking with someone about the need to go forward with a task or work through a conflict, and they just shut down. They don't say anything. Okay, covertly, what does that say? Well, it may be that they're feeling overwhelmed. It may be that they're angry. It may be that they're going into a defensive, fearful posture. The person who has good EQ is going to pick up on the covert messages, and rather than just getting into an argumentative or a controlling response, they're going to tune into that covert element. Now, another really strong implication in order for you to develop this EQ is you're going to need to learn how to develop the pause skill. Let's just say that. Whenever you have situations that set off emotions, your amygdala in your brain is going to be firing off all sorts of impulses that can take you to the place of anger or bitterness or harshness or anxiety or tension or excitement or fun or whatever. And you don't want to allow your whole personality to be hijacked by those impulses. So the person with strong EQ knows how to say, slow down, hang on a minute. I know that I have certain emotions firing, or I have certain implications or impulses that are there. Where does this fit into the scheme of life that I want to be known for? And people with emotional intelligence don't just let emotions run away. They appreciate the function of emotions, and they appreciate the fact that we all have them, but they also want to have a certain amount of logic and objectivity that can override it when the requirement is there. Now, in addition to that, let's also recognize that we need to be aware of some of the things that trigger our emotions that can go in the wrong direction, or we can be aware of what's triggering the emotions of other people. We see it, we know how to go to that topic. I can tell that that was disappointed that your child did this, or you were expecting this result, and you know how to come up with the trigger points, and you can talk about those kinds of things. And then finally, let's just say, when you have a real strong sense of emotional intelligence, you realize, you know, the core relationship is what really makes life worth living. As we know one another as real people with a lot of depth, with a lot of emotion and history and need and expectation that they carry with them in all sorts of different scenarios, we're going to be much more effective as we try to do life with one another. So yeah, this emotional intelligence is a really broad topic, and it has lots of implications for the way that we interact with one another. So I'm hoping that you'll join me in trying to say, I want to be somebody that manages the emotional side of life with sensitivity and with a great deal of care and concern, because I want to have a high quality of life, and I want people, when they interact with me, to feel like they can be a better person by having been in my presence. That's kind of what we're trying to do here. Now, let's keep in mind a slogan that we have here on my channel, and that is Dr. C, DRC, stands for Dignity, Respect, Civility. And as you develop this emotional intelligence, I'm hoping that it's going to carry you with those kinds of characteristics in the ways that you interact with folks. And I'm hoping the result is going to be quite positive, both for you and for those who know you well. I do hope that you find benefit by watching videos such as this. Beneath this video, you're going to see the subscribe button, and if you've not already done so, I would invite you to hit that subscribe button so we can keep you apprised of more videos as they come along. Also, beneath the video, you're going to see links to other kinds of resources like my books and online workshops. You're going to see a link to online counseling possibilities if that's something that you would need, and I would encourage you to do that if that's something that you're really in need of. Just know that I like being with you on your journey. I'm honored that you would have me along. So having said that, I will see you next time.